Vancouver Island's shellfish capital is right here in the Comox Valley, and I thought where better place to learn about shellfish than in Bayne Sound. They're known for their world-class succulent oyster, and I'm about to try the best of the best.
Vancouver Island's Comox Valley is a real agricultural gem. This is true not only on the land, but in the sea as well. The annual Comox Valley Shellfish Festival is a celebration of everything shellfish. The festival is held every June on the shores of Bayne Sound. And to find out all about it, I spoke to Roberta Stevenson of the BC Shellfish Growers Association.
So, welcome to the Comox Valley Shellfish Festival. I'm glad you could come and join us.
Thanks for having us, Roberta. Tell me all about shellfish here in the Comox Valley.
Well, you know, this is Bayne Sound out in front of us where we're standing right now, and this is the home of 52% of all the shellfish grown in British Columbia. So it's only appropriate that we have our annual festival here on the Comox Valley lawn of the Marina Park. So we're really getting good at this, and it's getting easier and easier, and the public loves it.
Now, when you say shellfish, do you mean oysters or a lot of other types?
We're talking oysters, clams, mussels, scallops.
All of that's grown right here in the Bayne Sound?
All of that's grown right out here in Bayne Sound.
Beautiful.
So we're pretty lucky that we have water that's clean enough to grow that product. I mean, you have to remember shellfish eat only plankton, and they're very sensitive. They need very clean water in order to be safe for humans to consume. So we're careful to test the water all the time.
So you are a shellfish farmer, and I know people are all up and at it about eat wild.
That's right.
But tell me the benefits of the farming.
Well, you know, it's funny because the public, you know, the media's just done such a hype on eat wild, like you say. But you know, when people say to me, I can't eat that if it's farmed, I say, excuse me, what do you eat that's not farmed? I mean,
right.
Is your husband a hunter?
Yeah.
Because reality is that the food we eat is farmed, and our shellfish is farmed, but that makes it sustainable. We aren't depleting the wild. We purchase our seed from a hatchery, we plant it, we grow it, and we sell it to you.
One group in the Comox Valley has turned shellfish farming into an art form. Steller Bay Oysters out of Bayne Sound have used a number of creative techniques to craft an oyster they call the Kussi. I had a chance to speak to Kussi farmers Dwayne Johnson and Keith Reed at the Comox Valley Shellfish Festival.
Tell me about your oysters specifically.
The oyster is called a Kussi. It's an oyster that we grow in a very special process that we're the only ones doing it. And they take about 3 years to grow. The process is sort of designed to create a small oyster with a large, firm piece of meat and a really nice, firm texture.
We have a process that we've built that tumbles the oysters, and we essentially slow the growth of the oyster down to concentrate a lot of the quality into the shell and the meat, so we have a much better oyster.
So anytime I see a Kussi labeled oyster in a menu, that's your oyster?
That's our oyster. It's trademarked.
It's a trademark oyster.
I decided to give the Kussi a try, but first, Keith gave me a quick lesson on shucking.
So in order to open the oyster, what we do on these small oysters is we shuck from the hinge. The adductor muscle is always held in your left hand, a third of the way in and a third. So the adductor muscle is right about here. So what we do is we go in the hinge, and we just move the knife a little bit, and the hinge pops.
Wow.
And then we move the knife into the adductor muscle, and we just move the knife sideways, and it cuts the adductor muscle. You can see the adductor muscle is right there, right where I said it was going to be. And then what we do is we cut underneath the adductor muscle, and then for presentation, we flip the oyster, and it's ready to eat.
Wow.
The Kussi oyster was delicious, but there was plenty more to see at the festival, like the very lively oyster shucking competition. Festivals such as these highlight the importance of food in the Comox Valley. There are many local producers pumping out locally made artisan food products, and just a few miles away down the road, you'll find Morningstar Farms. This small, locally run farm is home to Mooberry wines and little Qualicum Cheeseworks. These two operations produce a delicious pairing of wine and cheese to excite the senses. I stopped by the farm and spoke to owner and chief cheesemaker Nancy Gourlay. After living in Europe for a number of years, the prospect of coming back to Canada and not having ready access to artisan cheeses was downright depressing. So Nancy decided she would make her own selection of delectable cheeses. And with the help of her husband, Nancy started Little Qualicum Cheeseworks. In 2004, they moved their operation to Morningstar Farms, a 100-year-old heritage dairy farm.
Well, the farm itself is over 100 years old. And so it started out a long, long time ago with a combination of a few pigs, a few cows. He grew some crops and vegetables and things like that. So it's always kind of been a multi-aspect farm. Of course, when we began, we didn't have too many resources, and we started out on a leased dairy farm just about a kilometer away from here, down the road actually. And that provided us the foot in the door to be able to begin the cheese making part. So it was a couple of years after we'd started getting established that we were able to, with my parents, to purchase this farm. So it grew from finding a farm, a place to have our animals, and a place to grow our own feed, to making our cheese.
And the cheese-making operation has grown, from hard cheeses such as Monterey Jack to melt-in-your-mouth brie. Nancy oversees a busy operation that produces them all. And one of the best parts is that you can come visit and see them in action. In fact, making cheeses looked like so much fun, I asked Nancy to put me to work. What we're making is fresh cheddar cheese curds, one of the most popular products to be bought straight from the farm. As I cut the cheese into smaller strips, salt is added, and everything is then mixed with a shovel. The salt helps to dry out the cheese and give the curds that trademark squeaky texture.
Oh, Nancy, that is so good.
After all that hard work, I was thoroughly parched. So I headed over to the gift shop to meet Mooberry Wine's chief vintner, Phil Charbois.
We're strictly a fruit winery. We don't make wine from any grapes, mostly because I'm the winemaker, and the kind of grapes that I would like to make wine with don't grow very well where we are right now. So we decided to fit into our schedule, we would use fruit, because I can use frozen fruit.
Phil began the winemaking operation 2 years ago. Mooberry now offers 12 different types of fruit wines, varying from different types of berries to orchard fruits such as apples and pears.
How do these wines compare to, say, your Merlot or your Cab Sav?
Well,
you
can't really compare. I mean, they're not. The chemical makeup of the fruit is not the same as a wine grape. There's not the same acid composition, and there's no real tannins involved in the winemaking. So you don't have that real astringency when you're drinking this wine that you would get with, say, a full-bodied red. It's just an entirely different type of wine.
Both the wine and cheese made on Morningstar Farm are available at shops across Vancouver Island and the Lower Mainland. Or you can make the farm a stop as you eat your way through the Comox Valley.